welcome, guys. Welcome, everyone. We are going live with our episode for today, Footy Fantasy Podcast. My name is EJ. You can't see me because there's a banner over my head trying to move forward. But yeah, my name is EJ. I'm the host for today's podcast. I'm excited to host today. And I'm going to introduce our guest. I'll start with Ovi at the top. Ovi, please say hi to the folks at home.
Hello, everybody. Good to be here. Happy to be here to analyze and dissect Arsenal season so far.
Yeah. Okay. And we'll go next to Ray. Ray, been a while since you've been on, has it?
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, thanks for having me. Ray here, all the way from Vancouver, Canada. Always a pleasure to talk football. Even more of a pleasure to talk Arsenal. So I'm looking forward to this episode.
Yeah. And last but not least, we have TT. Girl, talk to us.
Yeah, plus one to what Ray said. So TT here from Atlanta, and looking forward to chatting about all things Arsenal as always. Yep.
Okay, and we have one more guest. He will join us shortly. That's Henry, but we'll go ahead and get started. Before we do, I do want to shout out our handles, our social media platforms. On YouTube, we're Footy Fantasy. On Twitter, we're Footy Ad Fantasy. And Instagram, we're Fantasy Footy. So follow us on all these platforms. Get real life updates from our podcast and our content, and subscribe, share, like, and all of that. It's good stuff. Okay, so we're going to jump right into it. Aston Villa versus Arsenal. Hold on. There we go. So we're going to break this down because I feel like we have a lot of talking points. So let's just do a quick overview of the game. We'll start with Ovi. What did you think about the game yesterday?
I don't know. I think Arsenal actually played well. It's just one of those games that happen in the Premier League because the levels are so high, especially for away games where the little 50-50 that are going in the favor of the home team. Anybody can lose those games because overall, I don't think we deserve to lose the game, but it can happen, and it happens every now and then. That's why we're in the toughest league in the world. So it's one of those days where I had hope for some reason, and until this was solved, I don't know, for some reason I just felt that was it, that this is it, we lost this. We're not going to come back. Not because I don't rate Nketiah, but just because I just had a bad feeling that this is just, we're not going to be able to come back in this game. So when Kai scored, I was like, wow, we've done it. But of course, that was short-lived. So overall, I just think, as an overview, we played well. The metrics show that we played well. It's just one of those games where you concede first, and it just doesn't go your way. So I think that's the overriding feeling I got from the game.
Okay. I think that those are good points. Ray, what about you?
Yeah, I think for me, going into the game, I kind of had a bad omen about the game, but ironically, the way the game played out was not the way my omen. So I thought Villa was actually going to play better. They're going to try to come at us and sort of batter us like the way they did City, but it was a completely different game. And again, I think that early goal kind of changed it. As soon as they scored that early goal, they kind of, because I think they actually showed respect to Arsenal because they knew, hey, they couldn't keep up that pace the whole game. And I just feel like we actually controlled the game, again, to Obi's point. And it was just one of those days where we were just gun shy. I mean, we created chances. Some of these were basically almost walking the ball into the net. I mean, we'll talk about the details of all the specific incidences there. So it was just one of those days where I think, like to his point, I think we just gun shy that day. And I think 9 out of 10 times, if we played that game, we'll probably win the game. And no disrespect to Aston Villa, it was just that we were just off in terms of the sharpness was missing in terms of the third pass. But even with that, we literally created like 4 chances that should have hit the post, or should have been a target, should have been a goal. And they wrote their luck in that sense. And hey, credit to them, they got the job done. And then again, you put yourself in a place where now you have to rely on VAR. We know how that typically goes for Arsenal or in the league in general. So overall, that's my overall views of the game.
Okay, and TT?
Yeah, I think for me, I was pretty confident actually, but I was weary. I think I was weary only because of the stats. So when you look at all the games that we've played on Saturday at 12:30, we haven't won anyone bar one. So our record for Saturday games at 12:30 is actually very, very poor. I think we tied a couple and we lost. So that was the only thing that was kind of concerning for me. But at the same time, I was still pretty confident because I felt Aston Villa put in a lot of effort during the week against City, right? I didn't expect them to put that same effort against Arsenal, right? But we actually did pretty well. The only thing that we didn't do was we didn't just finish a lot of our chances, right? And we can probably come up to that or talk about some of the reasons why we didn't do that. But overall, I would say we played well, but it just comes down to you need to finish. It's all about the 3 points, right? It's all about like finishing those chances that you have and nothing else matters. But I was confident, but at the same time I was weary. But again, we didn't get the 3 points. That's all that matters. Yeah.
So Harry, welcome to the show. We are still talking, or we're just now talking about the game. We just want a quick review of the game before we go into details. I'll try and break it down afterwards. But what were your thoughts on the match?
My thoughts on the thanks for having me. And my thoughts on the match was, I don't know, I just felt like we had an off day, right? On especially in the first half. In the first half, I didn't, it just felt like we were just off, like loose passes, which is very uncharacteristic of like Arsenal. The intensity wasn't there. Ray mentioned like that. He felt like we were that in that final third, that last pass was missing. Like the creativity wasn't there. Second half, he improved significantly though. Which kind of gave me a little bit of hope, but I was a little bit scared going into the game for 2 reasons. Like, Unai Emery had like a big bone to pick against us, and I was just scared of Martinez. Martinez has shown, probably my hot take for the week is, in Emi Martinez, we're seeing the keeper we should have kept, compared to the 2 clowns we have now. But that's my own little hot take. But
we'll talk about that.
I'll leave it for that for now.
Okay, I'm going to share this comment before I make my comments. This is Olga Kwame, who I'm in the group with him and Mayo. So they're the biggest haters. Even though their team lost 3-0, they still have the mouth to talk. But that's fine. He goes, I prefer when he was making mouth in the group chat. God is good. The truth is, I thought we would kill. I didn't think we would kill them. I thought we would beat Aston Villa. The reason I thought that was independent of the fact that we were the last people to beat them at their house. I felt like we had a better squad that could handle them. Like we could handle whatever they put out. And I think in hindsight, if you watch the game, which we all did, they did. Arsenal was the better team. We had the better chances. They scored on one. I mean, they had shots on goal. I'll give them credit. They had shots on goal, but they were playing defense the whole time. Like after their first goal, which was a loose pass that Zinchenko was out of position. It wasn't a loose pass. Zinchenko was out of position. They got that Bailey, whatever his name is, made that pass to McGinn, and he scored. Independent of that, they didn't do much. We were the ones creating chances. We saw Odegaard had 3 good chances on his foot. 3 perfect chances. So I think we could have easily won. You guys have all said it. I'm not too angry about the game. Like I said on Twitter, the only thing I'm upset about is that we're going to have to hear people talk about Unai Emery and Arsenal and say things like, oh, our ghosts have come to haunt us, or good evening, or whatever. Like, just taunt us with Unai Emery when I'm like, Unai Emery is doing his job at Aston Villa. Leave him alone. We don't need him in Arsenal. Like, we're good. And it's going to be this one game, this isolated game that they're going to use when we didn't even perform badly. So that's the irritation I have with this game. But apart from that, we lose some, win some. That's fine. Like these players, Arteta made a good comment after the game. Someone asked him, were your players tired? He was like, no, we're not tired. You don't press like that for 90-something minutes and claim fatigue. That's not what happened. We were pressing them to the end. Just didn't finish. So that's not fatigue. That's just whatever you want to call it. Instead, I think Aston Villa were tired. And I think they had the right to be tired. They gave City 22 shots on Wednesday.
Right.
So they were lucky. And I'm going to end it there. But more talking points. I want to talk about, still staying on this Aston Villa matter. I want to talk about the 2 controversial incidents. And we'll start with Havertz's goal. Was it a goal or was it not a goal to you guys? This.
I think with the rules of the law, it's not a goal, right? However, if it's a handball for habits, then if it's considered a handball on habits, which I didn't think it touched his hand, but if VAR is saying it touched his hand and he scored, then it's not a goal.
Right.
But then if it's a handball on habits, I think Cash also had a handball.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't that have been a penalty, right? So
Right.
Havertz scoring, if it touched Havertz's hand, then it's not a goal because that's what the rule says, right?
Yeah.
If Nketiah had actually scored the goal, then VAR would have actually given us that goal because I think the rule says if the ball touches your hand and it leads to a goal, the player scoring the goal, then it's ruled not a goal. So if Nketiah had scored, then it would have been given as a good goal. But again, I didn't see that the ball touched Kai's hand. I saw it touch his chest. So again, I don't know what VAR saw. So if VAR is actually saying that he touched his hand, then yes, it's definitely not a goal. But in my instance, if it touched Cash hand, then why didn't get the penalty? Because when you look at the incidents that occurred, I think it was Saliba against Chelsea, right?
Yes.
They got a penalty, right, when he hit Saliba's hand. So in this instance, why didn't we get the penalty? So that's just my gripe against that whole scene of play is if you're gonna call that as a foul on Kai, then why don't you call that as a foul on Cash?
Right. And I don't know if it matters which one came first. I feel like if Cash handled it first, which Cash, to be fair, what I saw with my two eyes after they showed us the replay was that the ball accidentally hit all of them on their hands. I don't think it was intentional for any of them. So I know for a fact that the rules don't give a penalty to accidental handball on the defender's end. So I think because of that, that wouldn't have been a penalty. But like for Kai, I go back and forth. Yes, we know you cannot score an own goal, a handball goal. We know that. They did change the rules that accidental handball in the buildup of play is not a penalty, is not against the rules. So I don't know if accidental handball in the buildup of play means that if I had a handball accidentally in the buildup of play, I cannot score the goal, or like Titi has said, someone else needs to score the goal because the buildup was someone else. So, I don't know. But any other thoughts?
Yeah, so I got into a little bit of a tidbit on on Facebook exactly to this point because it's confusing. First of all, I thought Nketiah was on the score the goal, but maybe it was Havertz. Now I'm really confused. So I literally, until you mentioned it, I thought Eddie poked it in, but maybe it was Havertz. But I remember getting to this on one of our groups on Facebook, and again, I'm discovering, like you guys said. So apparently, so yes, it did hit Cash first, but apparently, kind of to your point, EJ, if it accidentally hits the defender gets the benefit of accidental versus unnatural position, etc. Whereas if the attacking player is involved in the direct build up to the goal, it sounds like even if it's accidental or even if it's within the body and all that, they don't get the benefit of that accidental, which literally makes no sense to me because it has to be consistent. It's either not accidental for both or accidental for both. But that's kind of how I understand. That's why I got into this, because it logically didn't make sense, but I was told that I don't know what I'm talking about. And it sounds like exactly what we're saying is the rule. So the rules don't make sense, but according to the rules as they are, it seems it's not a goal. Bizarre, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll be honest with you guys. When it was very clear before this accidental handball and the build-up of play thing rule changed, I was seeing you can't score a goal with your hand. I don't care if you meant it or not. So when it said, the second they said Havertz scored the goal with his hand, or the ball hit his hand and went in, I was like, it can't be a goal. So I was seeing it's not a goal. But like, there's so many nuances, like you guys are pointing out, and I don't think it's straightforward. But maybe it's because it's my team. But again, I really was yesterday. I clearly said yesterday that's not a goal. So that was not my gripe with the game. But Henry, Ovi, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, so, I'll let him go first.
Oh, sorry. So, yeah, like most of you have already said, I think by the law, it wasn't a goal, but the law is a dumb law. That's the first thing.
Correct.
If you look at the example I'm going to give is the one with the Newcastle match. My gripe with that Newcastle goal was not only did I think Gabriel was pushed, it hit Jolinton on the hand. But because he was not the one who scored it, it was not even an issue. They just focused on, there wasn't a foul, there was no push, or they couldn't determine the force he used to push the neck, whatever. And because Gordon tapped it in, there was an issue. So if by some chance Eddie Nketiah scored a goal and then they disallowed it, then that's when I would have found a way to say, this is nefarious. There's something going on here.
Right.
So, but by the law, dumb law, yes, hopefully to get changed by next season. But by the law, it wasn't a goal.
Henry,
But did he really touch Kai? Like, well, am I blind? Because I didn't see him touch Kai's hand. I thought he touched
both of them heavily.
He touched
touched
Cash first. He touched Kai's hand. He touched his chest. He
Yeah.
touched Kai's hand again.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And before he scored.
We are all
Gotcha.
clear with that. But the issue is the defender will not get it against him because it's not accidental, it's not on purpose, and because ball can hit your hand as a defender and not be a penalty. That's fine.
Right.
But
except for when he hit Saliba because his hand was allegedly.
but as a striker, it cannot hit your hand and then you score. So that's what they're trying to say.
Even if it's in a natural position, that's the question I was trying to ask.
But they don't care about that. What
Fair
says,
enough.
if he hits your hand and then you score immediately,
Yeah.
it can be a goal. So if Havertz could have left the ball somehow for a decade to tap it in, there it should have been a goal. That just highlights how dumb the law is.
No, but there's also a caveat to that, though, where there's one more point that we're forgetting, right? So we also have to remember what the on-call decision was by the referee, right? So the referee said no goal, right? So if the referee had said it was a goal, then they would have needed to found something to overturn it. So it could have gone both ways too. That's the only point I was trying to make.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I feel like for Arsenal or for this thing, they would have called it as no goal, even if referee had goal.
Of course.
They would have said the ball touched Kai Havertz's hand.
Right. Yeah.
We've had decisions go against us a lot this season.
Yeah, so that's why I feel like even if the referee said it was a goal, because the referee was pretty close, the referee probably saw it.
Right.
But still, even if he had said goal and allowed it to go to VAR, the VAR would have said,
yeah, they would have seen the handball.
Touched the hand, and he scored the goal.
Yeah.
Because they were focusing on who called the last kick. They focused on that a bit.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying to justify that if it was Havertz, no goal. If somebody convinced themselves that it was Nketiah that scored the goal, then maybe we had a chance.
Yeah, but I think if the on-field decision was a goal, it would have been difficult for VAR to say it is not a goal because they have to prove that it's not clear and obvious who touched the ball. See, you have Ray here saying he thought it was Nketiah that scored, right? So VAR had to prove that it was clear and obvious that it was Havertz that scored, and that wasn't clear. So it was difficult for VAR to go against the on-field decision. So I think we probably would have gotten it as a goal if the on-field official didn't rule it out. That's I think my point of view on that.
I'll read this comment real quick. And yeah, the handball law is really dumb. I agree. They keep changing it every year, and different competitions have different interpretations. UEFA interprets handball different to the PL. Liverpool suffered similar in Europa, like Newcastle. That's Ola, who I consider our resident rule expert.
Yeah.
So
one thing, I just want to say one thing real quick. I think TT is even more positive than I am. If that was a goal, all that would have happened is VAR would have taken an extra minute.
That's true.
To cancel the goal.
absolutely.
That's what
I trust those people.
so,
I mean, yeah, it's been a lot of bad decisions against us anyway, so I won't be surprised.
Yeah, but the problem too is why are we relying on VAR?
to be super
Facts.
Are we relying on VAR? We're playing for 90 minutes. We're doing our best.
EJ, we had opportunities to put that game to bed.
And we didn't. And then with the time we did, they said it's not a goal. But let me go to the next one. I feel like you can't take chances out of our hands if these chances are illegal. I'm talking about the penalty shout that we had for Jesus. Douglas Luiz pretty much, which it didn't really replay. Like I watched the highlights again, and that was not part of the highlights, which tells me that VR didn't really look at it. They don't have clips of VR looking at that play. Anyway, So Douglas Luiz kicks the ball. I think he catches Jesus's ankle in his attempt to get rid of the ball so that Jesus wouldn't settle and pretty much hit that ball into the net. And that was not even considered a penalty, and it was in the box. I don't understand. What do you guys think? When Arteta was asked in the interview, the first time they asked him about the Havertz handball, he said, I prefer not to comment. The second time they said, what about the Jesus incident? He goes, it was clear and obvious. That's literally his answer. So he clearly, in my opinion, thinks that that was an even more egregious call than the Havertz call, which we all agree that on some levels, probably not goal. This one, though, is it not a penalty? Do I not know what penalties mean anymore?
So I can go quickly. What I would say is this penalty call is very similar to the one we got last season against Liverpool. I don't know if you remember. And it was
Yep.
So it's very similar. On that occasion, the referee called penalty. So the argument might be, oh, we don't know the force. But who knows the force? Do they have, what is the major force? I've forgotten now. They have force because of this pitch or something? He kicked him, it's clear he kicked him. I mean, that should be a penalty. So the only argument they will say is, oh, it wasn't enough contact.
Right.
That's all they can say. That's the only argument. And then, so I feel like if the referee had given it, it would have been a penalty. So, but because the referee didn't give it, it's going to be hard for them to change that because we're not going to give you any favors right now. So I think that's just the main issue with that because we got exactly the same penalty against Liverpool. I know Liverpool fans at that time were not happy. But the referee gave it, and of course, VAR did not go against it. So I think the same thing would have happened. If the referee had given it, VAR would have. And I hate that weird space we're in where there's some action that you can clearly tell that no matter what the referee blows, it's going to stay because they'll say, oh, it's not obvious and clear enough. So that's where that falls into, I think.
Yeah, and I think Arteta is correct. It's clear and obvious. And where VAR is getting things wrong is they're trying to make things subjective. It's very similar to what happened to Gabriel, where they were trying to interpret the force of the hand on Gabriel's back. Is it a push? We shouldn't be subjective about calls, right? It looks soft, but is it a foul? Yes, it's a foul.
Exactly.
Personally, and I think who was it, Ayu, or was it the Crystal Palace game? I think Crystal Palace got something very similar as well yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe what the reason why they probably didn't give this or called us back is the reaction of Jesus, right? If Jesus probably didn't overreact like he was sniped, maybe they could have called it. Or if Jesus was reeling on the floor and holding and just maybe pretending it was hurt, again, maybe you could have called it. But again, this is all down to being subjective. They need to just interpret the rule, which is if it's a foul, if it's a kick, it is a penalty. But what VAR is doing is VAR is now trying to further interpret their laws by being very subjective and in the force of fouls or pushes. Yeah. So that's my issue with VARs and those officials.
Let me quickly read. Very good. Let me quickly read this hater's post. Of course, people thought it was a penalty. Arteta will ask for a penalty if the opposing defender farts on the pitch.
Who is this one?
He's unserious. He just likes to.
Thanks for the content.
He's burying his Manchester United wounds. I'm so sorry. Next is the VAR can overturn such incidents like the foul on Jesus. Yesterday versus Palace, ref didn't give a penalty for the same thing. But after 2 minutes, VAR called the ref to give the penalty. So, they pick and choose, right? I think it's very clear. They pick and choose when they want to interfere and when they don't want to interfere. And it can never be. It's all very subjective. And I don't think fouls are that subjective. Because when it's subjective and you decide when to pick it, it always feels like it's not in our favor. So don't be subjective. Just call it.
Yeah.
You guys have anything else?
Yeah, so the subjectivity is sometimes you can't really take, that subjective nature out of football, right? Sometimes the real problem is the consistency. Like they're so inconsistent with these calls that it drives me nuts. Like, that's a good example. They called one yesterday, similar incident, and literally a couple of hours later, they didn't call it. So you can take 2 minutes and call it back, but anyways, I don't want to sound bitter because there's always this weird narrative where they feel like Arsenal fans think, but some of these things are just so obvious, right? Like that call yesterday, regardless of Jesus' reaction, whether he screams, shouts, calls his mom, it doesn't make a difference, right? It's clear. Or at the very least, go review it. But I'm sure they didn't even review it that yesterday. I'm sure. So that's really the problem.
Yeah.
Stopped the play briefly, but the review was pretty short.
Yeah, the commentators on my screen said something like, "Oh, if we're going to give them a penalty, then the game is won." I'm like, "Shut up! You just gave it the penalty in Liverpool's game."
Yeah.
Give it a penalty.
I'll just add one more thing with this VAR. I think to High's point there, the lack of consistency in the VAR and the subjectivity, it's killing the game. So obviously, we wanted technology to be able to reduce the number of errors and things like that. And I still think VAR on its own, it's a good idea. It's just the way it's been implemented, all this clear and obvious, and not overturn the rules. It's you're adding subjectivity with technology, so it makes it even. You're just making things more exponential in that sense, right? And I think it's frustrating. And to your point, I know we don't want to talk about it as Arsenal fans, but I mean, I think at the end of the day, yes, they'll banter us, but the reality is it's ruining the quality of the league, and everyone makes fun of Arsenal players until it happens to them, and then they start crying. So ultimately, we are all in this league together. We have the top coaches, top players on average. We're paying a lot of money, and the refereeing and VAR standards are so subpar compared to the quality of everything else, and it's just going to ruin the game for everybody. So I think ultimately, fans from all clubs need to stick up and be like, hey, demand better quality of VAR and not just be a banter thing for Arsenal fans or whatever every week, or else you're just going to have this. That's what's my opinion on that. It's very annoying.
That's a good way to end that section. But like, you guys have anything? Let's do this. We're going to go to the next topic, and then when we go there, we will. Oh, let me read this last comment. Hater number 2 said, like when Gabriel wrestled Budget Haaland down at the Emirates and they didn't even check it. Oh,
I mean, they were both holding themselves.
The problem with that guy, Hoyland, he's 6'4", he's massive, and he nearly killed Gabriel that whole thing. And Ayo, the one time he touched, Gabriel tried to even hold him. Ayo is going to hold down. Let's hear.
Is this 6'4"? He doesn't look that.
He may be 6'3".
He's
still
1 or 2. He's tall, sure.
He's very tall. I saw him the whole game. I was like, "Who's this guy? He's going to kill Gabriel." Ola goes, "Thank you, Ray. Concept of using VAR is good, but the implementation has failed, most especially in England." Yes.
That's true.
All right. So when we go into this next topic, which is top 6 revisited, I feel like we talk about top 6, top 4 a lot, but we're 16 games into the season, so it's a good time to kind of look at the table, kind of see whether we think things are falling into shape. And you guys can tell me why you think who's going to be in their position at the end of the season will be at their position. So let's start with TT. Let's start with you. Who's going to be?
I was trying to remember what the table looked like.
Okay, I'll tell you. Number 1 is Liverpool, 37 points. Arsenal is at 36 points. Number 2, Villa is 35. Number 3, City is 33. Number 4. Tottenham won today. They may be number 5. And I think Newcastle may be number 6.
Yeah, I in no particular order. It could. Do you want it in order of priority, like who's where they're going to finish, or just who the top 6 is?
I think let's do. Just give me your top 6.
I think top 6 will remain the list of clubs that you actually just called. It's going to be Villa under. I actually called it last season when we did an end of season review. I said Emery was going to make a difference with Villa. So, and I think they're going to finish in the top 6. I think it's going to be Tottenham, between Tottenham or United. I'm not sure, but I think I'm going to be going for Tottenham just with the way their playing style is. So I think it's Tottenham, Villa, Arsenal, City, and Liverpool. Yeah, that would be my top 6.
I do want to. I'm probably going to push you. Who do you think will win?
I knew that was coming.
Oh, that's tough. I don't know. It's between City, Liverpool, and Arsenal. I don't know. I want to say Arsenal, but those three teams are not consistent. So I don't think we're going to have any clarity yet until February, March. But for now, between now and then, it's between City, Liverpool, and Arsenal. Yeah.
Okay. And Harry, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with her analysis. I don't know why we're not calling Newcastle though. So I think for me, top six.
Newcastle is there.
I think my top six is going to be in no particular order. City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Spurs, Newcastle, and Villa. I think that's top six. I think top four is going to be top four is most likely going to be Arsenal, Liverpool, Man U, and maybe Spurs, and maybe Villa or Newcastle act as a spoiler for one of those teams. But
you said Man U, but you mean Man City, right?
No, Man City or not Man U. Did I say Man U?
Yeah, you said Man U.
Sorry, Man City. So yeah, those are who I think. I don't really know who, because of how inconsistent City has been this season, which is very, which is unlike City. I really can't just jump out and say now. De Bruyne comes back, Rodri comes back, completely different ball game. Let's just give it to them. They're the real owners. But barring any craziness, I actually think it's going to be competitive. Probably might go down to, closer to the wire than like previous seasons. That's what it's shaping out to be now. But again, we won't really know up until probably late January, early February. That's when we'll have like concrete. We'll start seeing the difference where you're separating the men from the boys.
Yeah.
Ovi, what about you?
So me, I'm gonna go.
Before you talk, Ovi. This is the actual top six. I'm leaving it on there so you can see. Liverpool, Arsenal, Villa, City, Spurs, and United, who I think they fell into by default. But that's okay. Okay, go on.
So yeah, top six. Might actually even. I don't know if they make England get the 5th spot for Champions League, would there be a top 7? I'm just curious.
Top 5.
Let's say top 6. The order I'm thinking of is Arsenal first, Liverpool second, Man City third. I want to give Aston Villa something. So let's say Aston Villa fourth, Tottenham fifth, and then Man U or Newcastle sixth.
Okay.
That's where my concern with Newcastle is that they're struggling now with injuries and all that. So they're very home-driven team in terms of their points. They get the home points, they lose the away points. So I feel like if they are out of Europe and they have less matches, that might improve. But I feel like if they get burdened with Europa League, it might still affect them a bit more. Man U are bad, but they somehow know how to win games. They don't draw games. They win or lose.
Win or lose.
So that's what's keeping them in the discussion. They won games, and they don't draw so many games. So that's why they are still there. But I worry for Newcastle in terms of I think I'd have said Newcastle, but what I'm concerned about Newcastle is just I want to see first where are they in Europe still or are they out of Europe? Then I can make a clearer judgment of where I think they'll finish. And I've been thinking Man City will come third even when they were on top of the table. I just feel like there will be a drop off this year for them eventually. Doesn't matter if De Bruyne comes back. Doesn't matter. De Bruyne will come back, and I'm almost guaranteed they will get injured again. That's just my feeling about this point. So Rodri, I think, is big, but if you've gone to the point where you need one player to win a game every game, then I think there's trouble coming. That's the way I see it. And I think that's why I'm more worried about Liverpool. Honestly, I'm not, because I didn't think their team was so good defensively.
Right.
That they're able to still win all these games is what's scaring me.
But they're not that good defensively, right?
Yeah, but they're still winning games, and they can always address that in January. That's what.
Right. That's fair.
That's why I'm worried, because I look at them and I feel like you need one DM, one defender, but you can do that in January. So that's why I'm worried, because I feel they should be lower than where they are now. But the fact that they can still be up there with all their defense frailties. It's just keeping me worried.
Yeah.
So that's my top 6 prediction.
Okay, that's good. And Ovi was bold and gave us a number 1. What about you, Ray? What do you think?
All right. I'm gonna.
By the way, sorry, Oga Kwame thinks you're smoking.
Okay, I must be smoking the same thing because Ovi actually took the words out of my mouth in terms of City. My hot take: City's not winning the league.
Wow.
Now, who's gonna win it? Liverpool, Arsenal? I don't know. To like Ovi, I think we like Liverpool dipped and then the transformation and they've come back. So I'm worried about Liverpool. But hot take: City's not winning the league. You can screenshot that. So top 6 for me. Essentially Arsenal. Not in order, just not in order yet. We can go in order if you want. So Arsenal, Liverpool, City, Aston Villa, Newcastle, Tottenham. And if I recall, my top 6 earlier in the season, I think it was Man United and Brighton made up the rest. Because last year, Brighton was like, I think they're like the Aston Villa where you couldn't beat them. They just knew how to play everyone off the park. And then now they just got kick kicks, so stop conceding goals. So I think United and Brighton have dropped off my top 6 from the beginning of the season. The reason, again, I mean, Aston Villa, I think Unai Emery's done a good job there. I think Aston Villa is going to be what Newcastle was last season, where they kind of gate crashed everyone, and then they're going to get into Europe, and unless they spent $300 million, they're kind of going to have that sort of conversation. But then they'll probably drop to Europa, and then Unai is going to win Conference and Europa back-to-back. That's sort of my crazy idea there. Tottenham, yeah, I think they'll get there. Obviously, the style of play, they'll kind of be like, fearless. I don't think they have any Europe, so they'll make it there. Newcastle, the reason I think Newcastle is going to sort of make it, even despite this run with injuries and stuff they have now, is, yeah, to his point, if they drop out of Champions League, less games, maybe Europa. But then I think I read a couple of weeks ago that the league is going to allow them to loan players from Saudi League. That being said, it doesn't mean, they can just bring 15 players but they might just find the right player here and there to continue the trajectory to make them to cover up for the injuries. They don't have to go spend $200 million in January and circumvent the rules of finance. Say, for example, Neves might come into Liverpool for, I don't know, for 4 months. So those kind of things there, that's why I think Liverpool right now, sorry, not Liverpool, Newcastle, I think right now they struggle with the injuries, but they can easily rectify that with some backroom deals with loans and stuff for the rules, obviously. So I think that's my top 6 there. Was there anything I missed?
Yeah, I think you got it.
Yeah.
Before I give mine, I'm going to share. Ayod sent his. He said Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Spurs, Newcastle, and Villa. I'm so shocked that he didn't include United. But yeah, okay. I think these are the same top 6 that everyone's kind of reshuffled this. So I'll probably pick other people. I do think Arsenal will win the league. Said that at the beginning of the season. These little games where we're losing based off of like small margins and not scoring goals, they are concerning. But I think there are things we need to do if we really want to be confident that we can win the league. We can talk about that after because we're really making good time. But I think we can win. I think we just need to keep our heads down. It's a long season. Next, I think Liverpool, and then City. City, this whole 3 points in 12. 3 out of 12 points they did, it was abnormal. And everyone will say, oh, yeah, they can run the table next, the second half of the season. They'll say they can run the table. Like, can you? Do we know for sure? Yes, you do it all the time, but this year just feels different. I don't know. So, and then you don't have your crucial players. You said KDB will get re-injured. I just think KDB is there's a cliff waiting for him to fall off. And I know I shouldn't say that about players, but he is 33 next year. So he can't be the same forever, okay? Same with Kyle Walker, same with all those old people that they've not replaced yet. So now, Aston Villa, what you said about Newcastle, someone said that Newcastle is able to do it at home. Clearly, Aston Villa is the same way.
Yes.
They've won 14 games. This is 15 games in a row at home. But, they're winning now because they're number 3 on the table. But they're not really replicating the away form, replicating that with the away form. So we don't know what that would look like. And he's Unai Emery. Unai Emery is an expert at getting streaks that mean nothing. So he's going to finish. Let me tell you where he'll finish. Number 7. Mark my words. That's his number. Every league he goes to, he finishes 7. He's going to finish number 7. So I'm going to bring up United. I think United, you guys said it best. They're 6 now. I don't see a reason why they keep losing, honestly. They just keep shipping in goals, and I'm not sure why. Because if you look at Onana's numbers, he's not even the worst goalkeeper, but somehow he concedes 3 goals in one game, and the other time he'll have 0 goals. So it's very tricky with him. So no, they just need to fix some things, and they're all angry, but we'll let them have their podcast, and then we'll talk about that. So I think United will finish 6th. And you guys have said it all. We'll know this week, right? Who finishes, how the Champions League will shape out. My earnest prayer is that United, who is 4th in their group, will finish 3rd at least. And also Newcastle will also finish 3rd. We need them to stay in Europe. We need the representation, I would say. No, I don't care. We need them to be punished. Play 2 games a week. All those things. They all want to drop out. I see them. Nah, you're going to go to the play it. Compete with Liverpool. We're not playing 1 game a week like Chelsea, who's still losing. Trust me now. But, the rest of them are going to play 2 games a week like us. And we'll see what happens. Let them play. But yeah, that's going to be our top 6. So before we jump into kudos and donkeys of the week, hang on. So these haters are still posting. I said he's done a video screenshot. Screenshot!
Done.
I promise you, he said, I promise you we'll all be there to remind you. You know, I mean, this is something I said before. I'm glad I have the hosting mic today. Okay, you'll be there to remind us, and then what? Even if we don't do it, no one's going to die. Okay, so don't threaten us. It's not a threat. We'll be fine. Okay, so does anyone want to say, before we jump into kudos and donkeys of the week, we're all Arsenal. This is an all Arsenal cast. What can we do to make sure? Me and Obi have just said that we're going to win the league. What can we do to make sure we actually do that in January? What do we need to do? Henry?
A couple of things. We need to sort out this keeper issue that we're having. You know, I think we kind of created that. Well, Arteta kind of created a problem for himself. Personally, I actually like Raya. I just think he's having a deep in form right now. I think aerially, he's a better keeper compared to what's that other guy's name? Ramsdale. But the problem now is, though, the comparisons, and I think he's startled now, right? Because of the whole shift and changes. So he's not even playing like peak form before. I think the reason why we brought him in was because, you know, the whole passing, he's good with his feet. We haven't even really been seeing, you know, much of that. So we need to figure that part out, obviously. The next part is 2 more things. Our number 9, you know, I feel like if there are ways we can figure out our 9 issue, that probably will be the death of us. Because all the guys we have there, even Jesus knows in his mind that he's not a real 9. He would tell you that he's not a 9, right? Yes. I feel like even if we can use him in roles sometimes where he comes in and he replaces Saka and we get a proper 9, maybe that's the next. We've learned one thing we've learned this season that I've seen. Obviously, I know we didn't win yesterday or we didn't try to get a draw. We've learned how to win ugly.
Yes,
I said it once the season prior that the next progression is we needed to learn how to win ugly. We've learned that now we need that 9. So maybe if we get that real 9, I know my idea would be Osimhen. I don't know if we have the money for him. That way, Jesus can sometimes even play from the wings, which I feel he's even more effective coming in from the wings. And then lastly, Zinchenko. I don't know what's going on with Zinchenko. Like, especially these past few games, like the loose balls. Like, I'm hoping I know we were relying on Timber this season. And probably that's what, you know, kind of has affected the plan for, you know, obviously there are games where he's really effective. Absolutely. And there's just some games you're like, oh, man, this guy is a liability. So it's almost like a gift and a curse. Mm-hmm. But hopefully those are the 3 areas that we can address. I think we make a big difference. And at that point, we can now start saying we can win the league. I don't think we can win the league yet. That's just my personal opinion. Max, best case scenario 2nd, worst case scenario 3rd.
Sorry, before we go to the next person, this hater said, what do you mean number 9? Nketiah, Uncle. My son, Nketiah is my guy.
How's Marshall doing?
Ask him why they're not playing Mount.
Play Mount. All right, who wants to go next? Ovi
I think,
or TT, go.
yeah, +1 to, what he said. But I think what's more critical that will be the difference this year is Arteta needs to rotate his squad. If he doesn't do that, like I see the likes of Nelson or I see the likes of Saka playing a lot of minutes. If there's not a lot of rotation in this squad, if he keeps playing the same 11, we're in trouble, right? So I think Arteta needs to learn from what happened, I think, in the last 8 games and make sure that he refreshes that squad. So he needs to trust on the likes of Jorginho, the likes of Nelson. We need to use our squad. I think that's going to be the difference. I don't think Arsenal, right now I'm still on the fence. I think Arsenal's going to come second, but only because Arteta doesn't refresh his squad, right? You saw yesterday, Odegaard, Saka, and Martinelli were underperforming. It's really because, to me, it was fatigue. I know Arteta said it wasn't fatigue. To me, it's fatigue, right? So he needs to be able to learn to trust his squad. If he continues to use that same squad, then it's going to be the same scenario that occurred this season.
Okay. Let's go with Ray. What do you have to say?
Yeah, a lot of good points you guys made. I would say 2 things need to happen in addition to what you guys mentioned. Actually, no, the one thing you already mentioned it, Henry, the number 9. We need it. I don't care. We need a number 9 in January. Exactly what Henry said, because actually Jesus, when he was at City, he used to play on the wing, and when Arteta convinced him to come to Arsenal to play number 9, but really the best football Jesus has played in terms of effectiveness has been on the wings. And exactly what Henry said, I second that. He can be the guy to sub in for Saka once in a while. I think we saw that last season. There was a couple of games where there was a nice little combination there, and then that would provide the opportunity to rotate Saka, get someone number 9. Vlahovic, there's this talk, he's probably going to stay in Inter. Tony, I don't know. I mean, if it's a 5 million loan with 50 mil, that might work. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of Tony in that sense. I don't want to pay like 80 million for him, but if we can get a deal like Brentford, and then you have that focal number 9, and then to TT's point about the squad rotation, because it just doesn't trust him, unfortunately. It just is what it is. Like I'm frustrated because I feel like Rhys Nelson, I think, is not that level, but if you give him games, he can bring his confidence. Arteta just doesn't trust him, unfortunately. So then you can have that opportunity for Jesus to left, right, then you rotate. You don't have too many players. It works. And then midfield. We need, as a central midfielder, somebody else in there. Again, Partey, I don't know what's going on there. We need to get a central midfielder so that we have not just Rice, because right now if Rice goes down, we are finished, in my opinion. So we need to get a central midfielder, maybe go get someone from La Liga to play alongside Rice, so we can sort of create from deep, things like that. So those are the 2 things, the center forward and the central midfielder. If we do that in January, then I can come here and say boldly on the next podcast, we'll win the league. But if we don't do that, then it's this sort of like uncertainty. And then the rest of the points you guys made, I agree with that. So those are 2 things we need to do in January.
Okay. Last but not least, Ovi.
Yeah, so for this season, like I said, I just don't think City will win the league. So if City is not winning the league, who's next? It's Arsenal, Liverpool, Tottenham, so whatever. Those are the teams that are left, right? The way I see it, what we need to do, I think what we need is out of our hands, honestly, what I feel. I feel what we need is just luck with injuries. The way the team is right now, I believe if the key players are fit, we will win the league.
Okay.
Problem is, I feel like Jesus might have another month of injury somewhere. I feel like if Declan Rice is out for 2 weeks, we'll struggle. I feel like if anything happens to any of the other defenders, we're in big trouble. So that's where I'm looking at. So I feel that's one thing. In terms of striker, we all know every Arsenal and non-Arsenal fan know we need a striker. A different version of a striker than what we have already. But what I would say is it's not going to happen in January. I think we should just all, as Arsenal fans, come to that acceptance. Because the player we need or the player we want is not going to be available. We can't even afford him under financial fair play in January.
Okay.
Let's just accept that. Let's go in summer and buy that big player we want. Whoever it is. If it's Osimhen, if it's Mbappe, whoever it is, buy that player. I'm just just say, whoever it is, save for the summer and buy the best thing you can buy. Right now, hope for and pray for luck with injuries. I think if Arsenal is buying ball in January, they're probably going to buy a defender and maybe a midfielder if they're still not unsure about what Partey is going to do.
Right.
But I think if Partey fits, we actually find in midfield. Problem is just we can't rely on Partey.
Right.
So that's the problem. So midfield, wise, I feel like if Partey comes back, goes to the Nations Cup, come and looking okay, maybe they'll be 5 till the summer at least. But defenders, we're down Timber. We had 7 to start the season. Then we're down Timber. Now we are down Tomiyasu. So we're down to 5. The 6th man is now Cedric and Real Waters. So, I mean, we're really down. So I think any injury there is going to be big. So I honestly think they will buy at least one player in January. I suspect to be a defender. And I feel like they will push the midfielder envelope maybe late based on where Partey is and where things are.
Right.
They will make the defender one first. That's my opinion. So that's what we need to win the league, because I know we're not going to buy a striker in January. I think we just need to be lucky with injuries. We don't need to have injuries where you have 2 injuries to the same position at the same time. That's what Kudos. People will say, oh, Saliba went down. No. The issue is we lost Saliba and Tomiyasu in the same match.
Yes.
That's the problem. It's not that we lost Saliba. We lost Tomiyasu. We lost the player and we lost his backup in the same match. And we had to go all the way to Rob Holding. Because if Tomiyasu was fit, he would have been playing. But he got injured the same match Saliba got. Saliba was the big player that we all saw. But we are all forgetting that Tomiyasu too got injured in the same match. And that's what really affected. Because Tomiyasu wide would have still been fine. We had a healthy lead. We could have held on. But so I just think we don't need that luck with injuries. And then once we can win this season, there will be more trophies coming.
Yeah. I think I want to echo the injuries part. Who do we have out now? We have Partey injured.
Vieira, Emil Smith-Rowe.
Vieira, Smith-Rowe. Okay, so these people that I also think are people that would sub in, right? So Smith-Rowe, maybe he subs in for Odegaard, or Vieira subs in for Havertz.
But is Arteta going to do it? That's my problem.
I think he was playing Vieira reasonably. I think he was reasonably playing Vieira before he got injured and that red card.
He has been better slightly this season. He has been slightly better. So
I think Vieira is heavily in Arteta's plans, actually. I think that's very clear. He thinks he matches up well with Martinelli on the left, and he said they can read each other's minds. So I think if that guy comes back fit, we're looking good. I think you're right with the luck and injuries. I still think even though we're like maybe 3rd number of goals we scored the most on the league, but it just feels like we're still not scoring enough. So that obvious deficiency is at the top, and it's very sad if we don't think we can address it in the spring or in January. And if that's the case, then Nketiah needs to stand up. Like the goals need to come. Like Havertz is looking better. Like I'm happy for him. He's looking better. Rice has been excellent. So we look good. We look good, and we look less likely to concede goals. I think we have a great chance. We have a great chance. We should really be positive for the season. But yeah. All right, that's good discussion. I'm going to move on to the next topic. Kudos and donkeys of the week. Does anyone have any kudos? You guys have anyone you want to shout out? It can include the whole week.
Is Arsenal related or just general?
I mean, football related.
Oh, okay. I can go first. Kudos, I'll give it to our uncle, Unai Emery. 15 matches at home, record for them. I mean, you have to give it to them. That's a good record to have, and that shows he's doing well. So I feel like we're the better team, but 15 matches on the roll is still 15 matches on the roll. So let's give that to them. For Donkey, I was torn between Chelsea and Man United, but Man U, come on now, at home. Come on now. I can understand you going to a away match, maybe on your way there, they throw stuff at your boss, fans are angry with you, your feeling is off, they let the grass grow too much. But a home match, to lose 3-0 to Bournemouth, come on now. come on. There's no excuse, there's no explanation. And that for me, that's just it. I mean, Chelsea is woeful. I've already accepted that. I mean, they are woeful, but I just understand. At least it's an away match, okay? Because I mean, home team. That's why they in the holding days they had a away goal rule, because a lot of teams have things they can do at home to change things. Yeah. But a home match against Bournemouth, no red card, just lost 3-0. There's something going on. That's all I'll say. There's something going on. So
All
that's
right.
me.
Can I go next? So I can just run up quickly.
Okay, go ahead.
My own kudos goes to Emery. I mean, what he's accomplished, we can't, kind of turn a blind eye. It was a close tie, actually, between Newcastle's coach versus Unai Emery, but they lost today, so he can hold the L. For my donkey, in fact, from now on, anybody that asks me about his donkey of the week, my automatic response is the refereeing and VAR. So please, Ayo, can you screenshot that too? Automatically, VAR and the refereeing. But other than that, thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Henry.
All right, TT, you can go.
My donkey was the refs we had against Villa. They missed Nketiah's elbow, or whoever elbowed Nketiah. So the whole VAR refs, the refs. I had two donkeys, so those officials are my number one donkey. Second donkey was obviously United, like big time. Conceding 4 goals against Bournemouth. That's insane. Kudos of the week would be Bournemouth as well, because they put in 4 against the crappy United. So that was pretty impressive. I think before that, during the week, they also won as well. And the other kudos I would say would be Aston Villa, because not only they beat Arsenal, they also beat City during the week. So those are pretty much my opinions on those. Yeah.
Okay. And Ray, what about you?
Yeah, so kudos. I have 2 so just shout outs. They almost made the kudos. It was almost a 3-way tie, but I'll say the shout outs. I'd say Everton. I think they had their minus deduction points last 2 weeks ago, and they just spanked teams. Who was it? Chelsea, and who did they beat recently? Newcastle. That's right. Yeah. So I would say I think that's what's his name? The coaches use that to galvanize them now. And so yeah, I would say shout out to Everton. So that's a shout out. And Fulham as well. 2 5-0 wins, 5-goal games back to back. That's in this league. It's it's not a small feat. So there's them. But yeah, I say that the kudos for me would be Unai Emery and Aston Villa, whoever wants to take it. I think again, exactly what TT said, is like 2 wins against the top contenders, so to speak, different types of wins. So again, they found different ways to win the game. The City won the win all out, and then against Arsenal, they just rode their wave and got their goal, and they rode it. So I think they will get my official kudos of the week. Just 2 shout outs. And again, Donkey, both have been said here. Again, a sort of shout out to Donkey, to the refs, VAR, all the above. It's just an absolute mess, man. I don't know how we can continue with this, but United, it's too easy, like 3-0 at home, and then they're still shamelessly bantering. I just don't understand. I don't understand. So anyway, they get my donkey of the week, United.
It was actually 4. That was
it 4?
VAR took the goal.
Oh, wow!
It was 4. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, United, 100%.
All right. Before I give mine, I'm gonna read. I'm not sure who this is. It may be Ola. Kudos, Luton. Yeah, they lost to Arsenal and City, but they gave a great account of themselves. And we saw the midweek game. That was an excellent game for us, because we won, but they tried. Their donkey said Trippier, culpable for 4 goals in the past week. Internet people won't be shouting Trippier can't defend up and down though. This definitely sounds like a Liverpool. Who is that?
Fair enough, but I mean, these guys are on fumes. Not to excuse them, but hey, fair enough this week if that's fair.
Okay, yeah. I said that is him. Yeah. I feel like they give him more leeway, and I think they attack TAA more. I think that's the beef there.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, so for me, I'm going to start with my donkey. It's a ref too, but whichever ref gave Arteta a yellow card, very random and stupid. But that's them being subjective and deciding when they're going to decide when to give a yellow card for celebrating. But it's ridiculous to give a celebration red yellow card in the 97th minute. Like you don't watch football and you don't know that he's just happy. That's one. Second donkey is this guy, some guy called Garrett Cooper, who thinks that Arteta is a sore loser and he's not gracious in defeat. Like, what are you talking about? Why should he be gracious in defeat? Who are you? I went on a rant on Twitter. You guys should check it out. It's 4 minutes long. That man. Keep shut. Now, my kudos. You guys have given Emery all the kudos he should ever be getting, more kudos than he deserves in this life. I'll let y'all do that. Who do I want to give the kudos to? I think Everton. Sorry. Someone corrected me on the name. Garth Crook. Whoever I said.
Oh, he's a Liverpool fan. Yeah.
I'm fine.
Garth Crook is who?
No, he's Liverpool. He played for Liverpool.
Ex-player. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I don't know why I called him. Sorry, wrong name. Anyway, I think I'll give it to Everton. Losing 15 points so swiftly when these other teams that have been committing crimes haven't even lost their points yet. And then they have to scramble and try to keep winning. Like they're not even in the relegation zone. Like if they lost the game, they still wouldn't be in the relegation zone. It's so funny how they have more wins than Chelsea. And they're just like, number 7 or 6, they're 17 right now. So they're going to stay up. They're resilient. And like Ray said, I think they're using this to galvanize their season. So hopefully it works out for them. I don't know if I care too much about Everton. Very stressful team. But I'm happy that they're figuring this out. Good for them. But yeah.
Isn't it ironic that none of us said Chelsea?
I know.
Spending $1 billion.
Chelsea, sorry. Let me read this. Garth Crooks didn't play for Liverpool. Okay, because Ola would never let this slide. If he played for Liverpool,
I thought he did.
He's by far the worst pundit on BBC. Yeah, I agree.
The
comments he's making, and then on Twitter he's running his mouth, trying to double down on those kind of comments where he's basically implying that Arteta should be like Pep and not be a sore loser. I'm like, since when is Pep a happy loser? When is Klopp a happy loser? Like, what is he talking about? Anyway, worst pundit for sure. But yeah, TT, before we leave, I do want to make that point. Chelsea is getting away with murder.
Yeah.
Folks are like escaping. I don't know how. They do it every year. They're the loudest fans and they escape criticism because they're rebuilding after spending $1 billion. They can't win a game.
I think
a shame.
We football lovers know that they've spent very unwisely.
Yes.
So we know that we didn't expect them to do much. So over time, we just, they've just bought foolishly. Yes, they spent money, but they spent it foolishly. So then that's the problem. So like I said, I knew that they're not going to do it, but they didn't buy it. Look at the players they bought. They all bought youngsters. They bought 1 or 2 senior players, but those ones are already injured. So there's nobody. The squad has not even been improved like that.
Right.
So I don't have as high expectation for Chelsea. So I'm not going to come there and say, oh, I'm surprised that they lost 2-0 away to Everton. What did I expect from the game? I had one of the Everton players on my fantasy team. I started in my starting lineup because I had it. So for me, I'm not like, I'm ready to go. So I can't even be giving you donkey when I already have you as donkey. Talking about donkey again. So I think that's just the way it is for Chelsea. They've spent so poorly. Yes, some of these players might come good, but you're buying 19-year-olds, 21-year-olds, 18-year-olds. I mean, how long are you going to wait? Chelsea, I can almost guarantee you, Pochettino will not be here end of next season. Even is never sure. But I mean, because they're not patient enough. So they will immediately fire him, and a new coach will come with his own new ideas, and they'll start all over again.
So they're constantly rebuilding.
Yeah, so that's not like
they're going to cry. Chelsea fans are going to cry.
Yes.
I give them 8 years of suffering. No trophy.
I read somewhere, was it this morning or last night, that Pochettino said he would look to address some things in the transfer market in January. It's like, what are you just keep buying more players?
It's not weird that Chelsea have not been charged. They accepted that they discover stuff in their book, and we've not yet seen any charge.
Right.
So I'm kind of confused.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So like, I'm like, at this point,
I didn't know they could charge people based on the way they let City and Chelsea run rapper. Next thing they charge Everton, so it means that they can charge people, and they're just not doing it for those guys.
They can't. Their argument would be Everton was one incident and it was easy to uncover and unpack.
That's basically what they're saying.
Wow.
But City's own is so much, and City laws are so good that we might be yet. They would have won. They would have won the African Cup of Nations before we charged them. By that time, they would have done everything they could. I mean, a team is winning Champions League, winning the league, and you're saying they are being on the vacation for what? They're winning and they're going. So at some point, you just have to look at, just shake your head at what's going on here. So the idea of independent review, honestly, it should have been clear, should have been done, because the English league is so resistant to everything. When it was time to move from 3 subs to 5 subs, they said, let's vote. We need 2/3 of the vote. How can you get 2/3? When a lot of struggling teams will say no. Now they said, okay, let's ban clubs from buying players, loaning players that they own, sister-owned clubs. And they said, let's put it to a vote. When almost half the clubs, even Arsenal, have sister club. The only problem is that our sister club is so bad that we don't even care about it. So you always put things to, because people are going to vote in their own interest.
Of course.
So all you need to review a panel and say, this is the law. If you like it, stay. If you don't like it, carry your load. That's how it should be. But we say, oh, let's vote. Let's 20 teams vote. Of course, the small teams will vote for what favors them. They don't want 5 subs because they feel, why would I want to play City, and they will bring in 5 new players when we're trying to defend something. So of course, they will say no to it. A team like Newcastle will say no to, of course, I want to loan players from sister clubs. Then I can loan players from the whole of Saudi. What's the problem with that? So everybody says we are making, it's like I always tell people, your realtor doesn't want you to negotiate the price of a house you're buying because he gets his commission off how much you pay. So why will I be spiting my own self? I always vote in favor of myself. So that's the first problem. So you have a team that are about to be, has won 6 or 5 trophies, league titles in 7 years.
7.
They've won the Champions League. They've won almost Carabao Cup before it was Carabao Cup. Now that country, they will keep winning Carabao Cup. They've won FA Cup, and then you're saying you're investigating them. Before you investigate, they would have won 200 trophies. So what is the purpose at that point? They've already won it all. So I mean, so that's my gripe with English. And they say, "Oh, let's vote. Let's put it to a vote." What does it matter? 3 subs, people were getting injured. Everybody was saying players need protection. This. Okay, let's put it to a vote. Everybody else in Europe is doing it this way. They have moved to 5 subs. English league said no. Let's do 3 subs. Why?
Yeah.
So that's why.
Resilient.
And I said, Chelsea, I'm still surprised nobody has charged them. They've come out and said, we did this, we found it. But still, we're still waiting. I mean, Man City, they can even hire the independent panel that investigated them. They can even hire.
Right. That's what I'm wondering. That drives going,
I'm like, what's going on here?
Allegedly.
Well, on that note, that's a good note for us to end the podcast. It's been fun. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
let's see what happens. We're almost halfway through.
Let's go. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.